A stranger noticed a little girl playing by herself in the park and considered her vulnerable. He attempted to lure her with ice cream and nearly succeeded, but he made a critical error. He failed to recognize the dog next to her was a retired police canine. The ensuing events stunned everyone at the playground. Before we share today's story, please leave a comment below and let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy compelling police dog stories such as this one, please subscribe to stay updated. Exciting content is coming soon. The sound of children's laughter drifted across Oak Ridge Community Park on a spring breeze, as families gathered for the first genuinely warm Saturday of the season. 7-year-old Lily Chan ran across the playground, her dark pigtails bouncing with each step, a German shepherd trotting faithfully at her side. "Ranger, catch!" Lily called out, throwing a well-worn tennis ball in the direction of the oak trees that gave the park its name. The dog's powerful muscles coiled and released as he bounded after it, his movements fluid and precise. Unlike the other pets that occasionally visited the park, Ranger didn't just run. He moved with purpose, each stride calculated and efficient. Lily's mother, Rebecca, smiled from her bench, briefly looking up from her book to watch her daughter and dog play their endless game of fetch. What started as a temporary fostering arrangement 18 months ago had swiftly become permanent. Ranger had evolved from a recovering police canine to an integral part of their family. "Mom, did you see how high he jumped?" Lily exclaimed, her face radiant with pride as Ranger returned. The tennis ball was firmly in his mouth, his head held high as if he were displaying a trophy. "I saw, sweetie," Rebecca responded, shielding her eyes from the sun. "He's showing off for you today." Rebecca omitted the fact that she'd observed a change in Ranger's behavior over the last few minutes. His ears had risen, and his posture had subtly transitioned from relaxed to alert. He had twice halted their game to survey the edges of the playground, his dark eyes concentrating especially on the group of trees close to the park entrance. Ranger released the ball near Lily's feet, but didn't retreat to resume their game. Rather than moving, he stayed standing, his focus directed towards something or someone past the playground. A man had been observing from the shadow of a large oak for almost 15 minutes, sometimes looking at his phone but consistently returning his look to the children. When Lily reached down to get the ball, Ranger shifted, placing himself between her and the figure in the distance. The slight change escaped the notice of both mother and daughter, but it was intentional, a defensive posture developed from years of training and intuition. Ranger's ears moved forward, registering sounds imperceptible to human hearing, his nose analyzing the air with shallow, measured inhalations. The stranger shifted his baseball cap and advanced a step. Ranger's muscles tightened under his heavy coat, a soft growl building in his chest that Lily couldn't detect. The day began like any other spring Saturday, but a shift was noticeable in the air. Ranger felt it, and he was determined to protect Lily. Before we proceed, please share in the comments where you are watching from. Subscribe to the channel because tomorrow at the same time, we will present another unforgettable story of heroism and sacrifice from the world's most extraordinary canines. 19 months prior, Officer Jason Rivera had been seated beside a hospital bed at Metro Veterinary Emergency Center, his calloused hand resting softly on his partner's sedated body. The German Shepherd's powerful build appeared somewhat diminished under the medical coverings, and foreline extending into his front leg, new stitches indicating where surgeons had dedicated hours mending injuries from 2 bullets. "He protected everyone in that room," Rivera told the veterinarian, his voice strained with feeling. The suspect was apprehended despite officers being struck twice. The drug bust rapidly devolved within seconds. What should have been a standard warrant execution became a firefight when the suspects detected they were trapped. Rivera's team was initially held down until Ranger, disregarding his own injuries, moved towards the primary shooter, creating an opportunity for the officers. Ranger would recover, according to the doctor's assessment, but his career as an active police canine had concluded. The injury to his left hip would result in a slight limp, barely noticeable to those who didn't know him well, but sufficient to conclude a notable 5-year career. Upon learning of Ranger's circumstances, Rebecca Chen, a social worker who sometimes worked with the police department, volunteered to provide him with temporary foster care. They cautioned her that the German Shepherd was intense, displaying a high drive and not typically suited as a family pet. However, Rebecca, a single mother raising a daughter in a neighborhood experiencing rising property crime, believed a retired police dog could be a beneficial addition. The initial weeks proved difficult. Ranger patrolled the house like a guard, scrutinizing windows and doors, and struggled to adapt to a life outside of police work. He slept minimally, remaining constantly vigilant, as if anticipating his next task. A thunderstorm arrived, marking a significant moment. 6-year-old Lily, who was afraid of storms, had retreated to her closet, crying as thunder rattled their small house. Rebecca discovered Ranger already present, curled around her daughter, his body shielding Lily from the door, his eyes watching over her with a calm and reassuring gaze. An enduring connection was forged that night. Having been trained to protect the public, Ranger discovered a new purpose with a small girl who called him her furry guardian. Though retired, Ranger never completely ceased being a police dog. He continued to perform perimeter checks of their home nightly, still responded to the subtle commands Rivera had taught him, still watched for threats that others might miss. Back at the playground, Rebecca's phone buzzed with an urgent call from work. She responded, her gaze shifting to watch Lily and Ranger play near the slide. "I know it's Saturday," she said, lowering her voice and stepping a few feet away, ensuring Lily remained visible. A man had approached, settling onto a bench with a direct line of sight to the playground. He appeared to be in his mid-30s with a nondescript look, wearing jeans, a light jacket despite the warmth, and a blue baseball cap pulled low. There was nothing overtly suspicious about him, aside from the fact that he carried no toys or baby equipment, was not with a child, and yet had spent almost 30 minutes observing the playground with deliberate attention. Ranger observed him. Each time Lily ran to the slide, the man's head would turn to follow her, noting his location. When she moved toward the swings, getting nearer to where the stranger was sitting, Ranger dropped the tennis ball completely and remained within 2 feet of her, his actions relaxed but intentional. "Look, Ranger. See how high I can go." Lily pumped her legs on the swing, reaching for the sky. 3 benches away, the man stood, stretching casually before making his way toward the ice cream cart that had just arrived at the park entrance. 15 minutes later, he returned, now carrying 2 ice cream cones. He surveyed the playground before taking a new position, this one even closer to the swings. "Excuse me," he called to Lily as she dragged her feet in the wood chips to slow her swing. "I mistakenly received an extra strawberry cone. My nephew decided he no longer wanted it. Would you like it? It would be unfortunate to discard such good ice cream." Ranger's ears flattened instantly, his tail changing from a relaxed wag to a stiff posture. He moved directly in front of Lily as she hopped off the swing. "My mom says I'm not supposed to accept things from strangers," Lily replied, looking at the melting cone with evident desire. The man smiled, but the expression didn't fully reach his eyes. "Kind woman. But I'm not really unfamiliar now that we're speaking. Correct? I'm Mike. What's your name?" Ranger shifted slightly. To someone inexperienced, he might have seemed merely focused, but the stiffness in his hindquarters and the minor forward distribution of his weight conveyed a different narrative. He was bracing. "I'm Lily. That's my dog, Ranger," she indicated proudly. "A pleasant dog," the man, Mike, remarked, although his voice implied otherwise. "Why don't you come over here for the ice cream? You are welcome to bring your dog." Rebecca, still engaged in a phone call, proceeded towards a crying toddler who had tripped close by. She briefly turned away as she assisted the child in locating his mother while simultaneously managing her phone conversation. "Ranger goes with me wherever I go," Lily stated, taking a step back. The dog, now seemingly hesitant, mirrored her movement precisely, staying positioned between her and the unfamiliar person. Mike's face showed a slight, almost unnoticed change. "Because I'm allergic to dogs. Could you please just come over quickly? It won't take long." Ranger then made a sound, not a growl, but a low rumble of warning that Lily had never heard before. She took another step back, her hand instinctively finding the dog's fur. "I think my mom is calling me," she said, though Rebecca was still occupied with her phone call. A commotion erupted near the playground entrance as a mother frantically called for help. Her son had seemingly climbed too high on the jungle gym and was now frozen in fear, unable to move. Rebecca, still on her important call, but always the social worker, hurried over to help, casting a quick glance toward Lily. "Stay right by the swings, sweetie. I'll be right back," she called. The stranger's posture changed instantly. His shoulders straightened, his gaze sharpened, and he moved with new purpose, discarding one ice cream cone in a nearby trash can while maintaining his grip on the other. "Your mom's going to be busy for a while?" he observed, his voice taking on a confidential tone as he approached Lily directly. "I have more than ice cream in my car. I got a new puppy too. Much cuter than this old dog. Do you want to see him?" Ranger's hackles rose visibly now, the fur along his spine standing on end. His mouth remained composed, his discipline preventing such a blatant reaction. Yet his gaze remained fixed on the man's hands, noting each minor shift. "Mom says I have to stay here," Lily responded, now feeling uneasy, her first pleasantness giving way to the wariness her mother had taught her regarding unfamiliar people. "It'll just take a minute," the man asserted, his smile unwavering but his tone becoming stricter. "The puppy might run away if we don't hurry." He advanced another step, and Ranger emitted a clear, commanding bark that caught the notice of several parents in the vicinity. The man paused, looking around to assess if the bark had drawn undue attention. "Your dog appears aggressive," he stated, projecting his voice for anyone who might be observing. "You really ought to keep him leashed." A woman maneuvering a stroller nearby stopped, her gaze shifting between Lily, Ranger, and the stranger with a worried expression. "Are you all right?" Turning to Lily, she spoke instead of the man. "I'm fine," Lily replied, her voice hesitant. This man was talking about his puppy, but Ranger doesn't seem to like him. The stranger immediately adopted a polished, charming tone. "Just making conversation while enjoying the park," he said to the woman. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" The woman paused, seemingly unconvinced, but after a brief moment, she resumed pushing her stroller, albeit at a reduced speed, and occasionally looked back. Once she had created a noticeable space, the man's focus returned to Lily, his voice lowered to an urgent whisper. "Listen, kid, the puppy is truly special. He performs tricks, significantly better tricks than your dog, but he's timid, so we need to leave right now while your mom is occupied." Lily took another step back, bumping into the swing set. "I don't want to see your puppy. I want my mom." The stranger's face hardened, the appearance of friendliness disappearing. "Look, we can do this the easy way." Ranger shifted, a seamless movement that positioned him directly before Lily, his stance broadening into the recognizable posture of a trained police K-9 readying to address a potential danger. The change was striking. The family pet had vanished, superseded by the law enforcement officer he was trained to be. Across the playground, Rebecca was assisting the frightened boy as he descended from the jungle gym. Her back remained turned to what was happening near the swings. Rebecca concluded assisting the distressed boy and quickly returned to Lily, concluding her work call. "Sorry about that, sweetie," she said. "An emergency at work and then that poor little boy." She paused, observing Lily's apprehensive look and Ranger's watchful stance. "Is everything all right?" Before Lily could respond, the stranger reappeared, advancing from a different direction with increased confidence. A dog treat was clearly visible in his hand. "Hey there, Lily," he called, as if they knew each other well. "I discovered something your dog might enjoy." A gesture of goodwill. Rebecca visibly tensed. "Pardon me, are you known to us?" The man offered a friendly smile. "Mike, I was just speaking with your daughter while you were assisting with that matter nearby. She mentioned your dog's name is Ranger, a magnificent animal." Ranger remained alert, not relaxing his watchful stance, even with the treat presented. His training included precautions against contaminated food. He would never accept treats from anyone except his designated handlers. "I don't recall giving you permission to speak with my daughter," Rebecca stated calmly, positioning a protective arm around Lily's shoulders. The man's smile remained unchanged. "Just being friendly, kids enjoy talking about their pets." He took a casual step closer, extending the treat toward Ranger. "Here, boy. No hard feelings, right?" Ranger didn't move, didn't even glance at the offered food. His gaze remained fixed on the man's face with unnerving intensity. He doesn't take food from strangers, Lily explained, pride mixing with relief in her voice. As Rebecca reached into her pocket for the leash, the stranger made his move. With shocking speed, he lunged forward, shoving Rebecca aside while simultaneously grabbing for Lily's arm. "Come on, kid." What happened next unfolded in mere seconds. Ranger exploded into action, a blur of precision and controlled power. He did not attack, at least not yet, but instead employed his body as a battering ram, impacting the man's midsection with sufficient force to loosen his hold on Lily without causing him to fall. The stranger recoiled, his eyes widening in surprise at the strategic response. This was not the behavior of an animal protecting its person. This was a deliberate action. He expressed astonishment, reaching into his jacket pocket. Ranger swiftly shifted to a defensive stance, adopting a posture easily identifiable to law enforcement, an angled approach with his head lowered, readying for a potential confrontation. As the man produced a small canister from his pocket, seemingly pepper spray, Ranger's training took over completely. The German Shepherd advanced with accuracy, securing his jaws around the man's wrist with precise force, sufficient to dislodge the canister without causing injury. The police canine delivered a controlled bite, intended to restrain rather than injure. The individual cried out in pain and shock, attempting to dislodge the dog. "Get him off me! This dog is attacking me!" The disturbance had quickly attracted the attention of those present. Multiple parents retrieved phones, some contacting 911, while others documented the developing situation. A park security guard arrived, radio in hand. "What's going on here?" he asked. "This man tried to grab my daughter," Rebecca called out, drawing Lily to safety behind her. "The dog's crazy," the stranger insisted, still struggling against Ranger's hold. "I was just being friendly." Ranger held firm, seemingly unimpressed by the man's attempts to escape. His training was clear in his stance. He wasn't reacting with uncontrolled aggression, but adhering to procedures learned through thousands of hours of police work. The security guard paused, uncertain about how to manage the situation involving the dog. "Madam, could you please call off your dog?" Rebecca found she didn't know the correct command. Lily, however, recalled something Officer Rivera had taught her. "Ranger, hold," she stated firmly. To everyone's surprise, Ranger immediately shifted from an active bite to maintaining a grip, becoming almost motionless while still effectively restraining the man without causing further injury. The security guard called for police assistance via radio, carefully maintaining space from Ranger, who continued to restrain the struggling stranger. Spectators quickly moved their children, creating a clear area around the unfolding situation. "Police are responding," the guard announced. "Everyone stay still." The stranger, however, had a different course of action. With a swift and urgent maneuver, he sharply hit Ranger across the muzzle with his available hand. The impact loosened the dog's grip for a brief instant, providing the man the opportunity he required. He quickly rose and ran towards the parking lot, abandoning a dropped wallet and keys in his haste. Rebecca held Lily near, uncertain if she should feel relieved or worried that the danger was retreating. Her question was answered instantly by Ranger, who disengaged from the impact and focused his attention on the fleeing suspect. "Should I instruct him to pursue?" Lily observed, noticing her dog's muscles tighten in anticipation. Before Rebecca could respond, Ranger acted decisively. The German Shepherd surged forward, rapidly covering the distance. This was unlike the playful running he exhibited during their games of fetch. It mirrored the intense pursuit of a police K-9 tracking a fleeing suspect. The stranger looked over his shoulder, fear evident on his face as he realized the dog was quickly closing in. He maneuvered between parked cars, attempting to create barriers, but Ranger expertly navigated the parking lot, utilizing precise angles to reduce the gap. A blue sedan's door was suddenly opened as the man reached what appeared to be his vehicle. He made a dash for the driver's seat, but Ranger was quicker. The German Shepherd executed a controlled takedown, knocking the man to the asphalt before he could enter the car. This time, Ranger did not bite. He circled the fallen suspect, emitting vocalizations with the precise rhythm instructed for police K-9s upon successfully cornering a subject. a sound intended to intimidate while officers approached. Rebecca pursued them, pulling Lily along and urgently searching for security or police. Several bystanders followed at a distance, using smartphones to record the intense pursuit. "That dog moved like it was trained for this," one man remarked in amazement. The man attempted to get up, but Ranger's imposing stance held him down. The dog moved in a continuous pattern, denying any opportunity, employing strategies that blocked escape without needing to touch him. Two park security personnel arrived, shortly after the sound of police sirens could be heard. Rebecca felt drained with relief as patrol cars entered the parking lot. As officers neared, Ranger's behavior changed slightly. The dog's barking pattern shifted, appearing as if he recognized the uniforms and was now communicating with them, instead of merely containing the suspect. "Is that a police K-9? One officer began, observing Ranger's tactical movements with clear understanding. "He used to be," Rebecca explained breathlessly. "He's retired." Meanwhile, the officer secured the suspect, who continued to protest his innocence even as they discovered a roll of duct tape, zip ties, and a hunting knife in his jacket pockets. "I'm telling you, I didn't do anything wrong," the man protested as handcuffs snapped shut. "I was just being friendly with the kid. The dog attacked me without provocation." One officer, while checking the man's pockets, exchanged a significant glance with his colleague. "Sure, friendly guys carry restraints and hunting knives to the playground." As they escorted him towards the patrol car, one officer halted, observing Ranger with a closer look. "Hold on. Is that Ranger, Rivera's old partner?" Rebecca responded, visibly surprised. "Yes, we adopted him after his retirement." "Are you familiar with him?" The officer shook his head in amazement. "Familiar with him? This dog is a legend within the department. I was still in the academy when he dismantled the Wilson drug ring, sustained 2 bullets, and still apprehended the suspect." Ranger had returned to Lily's side, his mission complete, transitioning seamlessly back to being a protective family pet. The transformation was remarkable. The intensity that had characterized his work was now replaced by gentle attentiveness. "I should call Rivera," the officer stated, reaching for his radio. "He's going to want to hear about this." 3 police cruisers formed a perimeter around the section of the parking lot where the attempted abduction suspect was seated, handcuffed in the back of a patrol car. Officers questioned witnesses as crime scene technicians documented evidence from the man's vehicle, which they accessed after securing a warrant. Rebecca was seated on a bench close to the playground, an emergency blanket covering her shoulders. Although the weather was temperate, she was in shock as the full meaning of what could have occurred registered with her. Lily sat next to her, one arm around her mother and the other hand nestled in Ranger's fur. The German Shepherd had remained by her side since the officers had processed him as a witness, an uncommon but fitting action given his involvement in the event. A police SUV arrived, and a man dressed casually but displaying a clear presence of law enforcement emerged. He quickly surveyed the area before his gaze settled on Ranger. A broad smile spread across his face. "Rivera's here," one of the uniformed officers stated. Officer Jason Rivera swiftly crossed the parking lot, his attention focused solely on the German Shepherd sitting protectively beside Lily. Upon seeing his former handler, Ranger's ears rose, and his posture adjusted slightly. "There's my partner," Rivera said, his voice filled with emotion as he moved closer. He paused at a polite distance, seeking permission from Rebecca. She nodded, and Rivera knelt, offering his hand, palm up, in a particular gesture. Ranger instantly recognized the signal, pressing his nose to Rivera's palm before allowing the officer to ruffle the fur around his neck in a practiced motion. "Still got it, don't you, boy?" Rivera murmured, examining the dog carefully for any injuries from the confrontation. Finding none, he turned to Lily. "Has he been taking good care of you?" Lily nodded, her eyes wide. "He saved me from the bad man." Rivera's expression grew serious. "That's what he was trained to do. Best partner I ever had." Detective Morales presented an evidence bag. Addressing Officer Rivera, Morales stated, "Since you're familiar with Ranger's training, we'd like your professional assessment." The suspect insists he was simply being friendly, and the dog attacked without provocation. Rivera rose, carefully inspecting the evidence bag's contents. Duct tape, zip ties, and a hunting knife, his expression hardening. Ranger is trained to identify threatening behavior patterns. He does not react to friendly civilians. If he engaged, a threat was present. The detective affirmed. That was my understanding. We checked the suspect's license plate. Thomas Mercer was wanted in 2 states for attempted child abductions. The methods were strikingly similar, approaching children in parks, then offering ice cream or telling stories about puppies. Rebecca held Lily near, feeling a chill as she realized how narrowly they had avoided becoming another statistic. As night fell, the police completed processing the scene. Thomas Mercer was taken to the county lockup, and detectives were already linking him to 3 other attempted abductions across state lines. A search of his vehicle uncovered compelling evidence, including restraints, a weapon, and a small collection of children's items, likely trophies from past victims or potential bait for future ones. Local news crews arrived, prompted by social media videos depicting a hero dog that had prevented a kidnapping. Rebecca had refused interview requests, worried about increasing Lily's stress, but was unable to stop the video from circulating online. Clips of Ranger's professional takedown and the suspect's containment had already become widely shared. Officer Rivera was seated with the Chun family on a bench away from the press, Ranger resting at their feet, seemingly oblivious to his sudden fame. I never realized, Rebecca said softly, observing her daughter tenderly petting the dog's ears. I was aware he received training, but I didn't fully grasp the extent of his capabilities. Rivera nodded in agreement. Many assume police dogs are simply trained to bite when instructed. However, it's considerably more complex, particularly with dogs such as Ranger. What distinguishes him? Lily inquired, looking up with curiosity.
Rivera smiled.
Ranger participated in a specialized program designed to teach canines to identify particular behavioral patterns. He doesn't solely react to commands. He is capable of recognizing potential dangers through observation of body language, tone of voice, and movement patterns. Rebecca remembered how Ranger had placed himself between Lily and the stranger even before any clear threat became apparent. He perceived a problem before the rest of us did. Rivera agreed, stating that during his service, Ranger was able to differentiate between someone feeling anxious due to police visibility and someone posing a real danger. His training likely saved Lily's life today. Detective Morales came forward, holding a tablet. Mrs. Chun, we've obtained Mercer's background information. I felt you should be aware of what Ranger helped avert. The detective displayed a file outlining Mercer's history, revealing a disturbing pattern of approaching children in public areas, sometimes resulting in successful abductions with devastating consequences. The most recent incident occurred just 2 weeks prior in a neighboring county. Morales explained grimly that he has been operating throughout the region for nearly 3 years, skillfully evading tracking by frequently changing jurisdictions. Detective Morales added that the department would like to formally acknowledge Ranger's actions. We typically reserve commendations for active-duty canines, he stated, but this is a special circumstance. Would you be willing to bring him to a small ceremony next week? Rebecca observed Ranger, an animal who had evolved into so much more than a pet, a protector, a guardian, a silent sentinel, who had detected danger when others had not. Naturally, she concurred he warrants recognition. As they commenced preparations to depart the park, Rivera crouched beside Ranger one last time, delicately scratching behind his ears in a manner that induced the dog's eyes to partially close with satisfaction. You never ceased being a police officer, did you, boy? He said. Ranger received a new patrol area. He looked from Rivera to Lily, his posture communicating what words couldn't express, that he had discovered his new purpose, his new person to safeguard. The retired canine officer now had a smaller jurisdiction, but he patrolled it with the same dedication he'd always demonstrated on the streets. Have you ever noticed your dog sensing something long before you did? Animals possess instincts that humans have largely lost through generations of civilization. The capacity to perceive danger, to understand intentions, to interpret the faint cues that predators and threats release before an attack. Ranger's narrative isn't solely about a former police dog recalling his training during a crucial situation. It's about the extraordinary connection between people and dogs, a partnership that extends back millennia to when our ancestors first recognized that wolves could evolve into guardians, friends, and expansions of our own restricted senses. Consider this. Have you ever noticed your pet reacting to something beyond your perception? How often have you disregarded an animal's alert because it contradicted what your human senses indicated? Maybe there's value in trusting these creatures who experience the world differently. We'd be interested in reading your stories in the comments below. Has your dog ever shielded you from danger? Have you ever observed an animal detecting something humans overlooked? Please let us know where you are watching from and tell us about your experience. We review all comments. If Ranger's story resonated with you, please subscribe and enable notifications to ensure you don't miss future stories of canine heroism. Our channel focuses on sharing these amazing stories of the partnership between people and their canine companions. Give this video a thumbs up if you feel dogs like Ranger should be acknowledged for their service, both during and outside of duty. Pass this along to friends and family who could benefit from a reminder that protection often arrives in unexpected ways. Watch our previous videos, now appearing on your screen. These stories feature military canines who saved their platoons, search and rescue dogs who found survivors despite seemingly insurmountable challenges, and therapy dogs who helped heal profound emotional wounds. Keep in mind, behind every exceptional dog is a human who understood their potential. Years of training, trust, and the strong connection between handler and canine are essential for every heroic act. Occasionally, within a typical family pet resides an exceptional heart, ready to demonstrate its courage. Please stay safe, pet your dogs, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time with another brand new video. An airport police dog persistently alerted to an abandoned bag. Could it potentially contain explosives? Hesitantly, security personnel opened the bag, and the contents necessitated an immediate evacuation. Here's the full story. Before we proceed, please share in the comments below where you're watching from. And if you enjoy compelling police dog stories such as this one, remember to subscribe to stay updated on future content. A sterile glow from the fluorescent lights of Terminal 5 at O'Hare International Airport illuminated the polished floors as travelers rushed by, pulling rolling suitcases and carry-ons. A continuous hum of activity filled the air, punctuated by announcements over the PA system and conversations in a mix of languages. It was just past 7 a.m. As the morning international arrivals began to arrive, bringing the usual atmosphere that Officer Benjamin Linus knew from his 6 years with the airport's K-9 unit, Benjamin straightened his dark blue uniform jacket, his badge reflecting the overhead light as he observed the increasing crowd. Beside him, Lexus, his Dutch Shepherd partner for 4 years, stayed in perfect heel position, his dark eyes carefully examining the constant flow of passengers. Another day in paradise. Huh, boy? Benjamin murmured, briefly scratching behind Lexus's alert ears. The shepherd leaned into his touch before returning to his vigilant posture. Morning, Linus, Officer Teresa Wong called from her post near customs. Lexus looking sharp today. Benjamin nodded in greeting. Just finished training recertification yesterday. Passed with flying colors. As usual, Security Director Melissa Harrington's voice crackled through Benjamin's radio. Attention all units. We are experiencing increased passenger volume in Terminal 5 today because of rerouted flights from Milwaukee. Please maintain a visible presence near checkpoints. Copy that, Benjamin responded, already adjusting their patrol route mentally. K-9 Unit 7 will cover the east side checkpoints. Just another day at O'Hare, he thought. Routine, predictable, secure. As they turned the corner towards the less crowded international departures area, Benjamin noticed a subtle shift in the tension of Lexus's leash, the first sign that this day would be anything but ordinary. The change in Lexus's behavior was slight but unmistakable, a sudden, focused alertness that altered his usual patrol posture into something more intense. The shepherd's ears moved forward, his tail straightened, and his nose began working more intensely, taking in the air with increased urgency. "What is it, boy?" Benjamin asked softly, immediately noticing his partner's change in behavior. Lexus pulled gently on his lead, guiding Benjamin towards the eastern wing of the International Departures Terminal, a section currently undergoing renovation and less crowded than the main concourse. Early morning light poured in through large windows, revealing dust motes suspended in the air above the section with restricted seating. Benjamin surveyed the area, trying to understand what had caught Lexus's attention. The space was largely unoccupied, with only a handful of passengers asleep in chairs or absorbed in their electronics. Initially, nothing seemed out of place, but then Lexus abruptly moved towards a row of seats along the wall, his focus fixed on something located underneath them. The item was a bag, a medium-sized black duffel with no visible identification tag. It was positioned perfectly centered under the middle seat, partially hidden from a quick glance, but fully visible from their present viewpoint. Benjamin's training engaged instantly. Secure, he instructed, and Lexus remained perfectly still, keeping his attention on the bag. However, something seemed unusual about Lexus's behavior. During training for explosive or narcotic detection, Lexus exhibited distinct alert behaviors, a passive sit for explosives and active pawing for narcotics. This was an anomaly. The dog's body was stiff with tension, and a low, sustained growl emanated from his throat, a sound Benjamin had seldom heard from his usually calm partner. Lexus, check, Benjamin instructed, initiating the inspection signal. Rather than approaching the bag and indicating as he had been trained to do, Lexus retreated several steps. His growl deepened. His tail was now completely straight, hackles slightly raised, a posture unlike his usual alert stance. A passing custodian noticed them and began to approach. Benjamin raised his hand, stopping the man. "Sir, please step back," he ordered calmly but firmly. As if reacting to the newcomer, Lexus suddenly emitted 3 sharp, staccato barks, a sound so unlike his usual alerting behavior that it sent a chill down Benjamin's spine. Maintaining focus on the bag, Benjamin activated his radio. "Control, this is K9 Unit 7 at Terminal 5, East Wing, Section C. I have an unattended bag exhibiting atypical K9 alert behavior. I request backup and implementation of area evacuation protocol." The dispatcher replied, "Copy that. K9 Unit 7 security personnel are on their way. Commence standard abandoned bag protocol." Benjamin then began clearing the surrounding area, speaking with a firm but controlled tone to avoid causing alarm. "Esteemed guests, please gather your possessions and proceed calmly to the main concourse. Security personnel will guide you from that location." As the last non-employees left the area, a security team arrived, led by Lieutenant Jack Cassidy, the airport's senior security officer. His characteristic worried expression intensified as he evaluated the scene. "What's the situation, Linus?" Cassidy inquired, gesturing towards the bag. "Unattended bag, sir. No discernible markings, placed intentionally beneath the chairs." Cassidy's gaze moved to Lexus, who stayed focused on the target, their body rigid. "Your dog providing an unexpected alert?" Benjamin responded, worry clear in his tone. "This isn't his standard explosive alert, nor is it a narcotics detection. I'm not familiar with him behaving in this manner." Cassidy's face grew stern. "Unfamiliar with this reaction? What is the significance of that? He should be alerting or he shouldn't be." A second security team arrived, bringing their usual detection tools. The lead technician, Raj Patel, started preparing a portable X-ray machine, observing Lexus with a professional gaze. "Let's examine what's inside before we decide anything," Cassidy instructed. "Sir," Benjamin insisted, "I've been working with Lexus for 4 years. When he behaves like this, there's a valid explanation." As evacuation procedures began, Benjamin's thoughts returned to the day he first encountered Lexus, 3 years prior to their formal partnership. The recollection was clear: a scorching July afternoon at the Homeland Security Training Facility in Virginia, when Benjamin was attending specialized K9 handler training. "This one's different," Trainer Martinez stated, guiding Benjamin toward an isolated kennel separate from the other training dogs. A Dutch Shepherd, roughly 2 years old, was discovered during a raid on a trafficking operation near the Mexican border. Benjamin had looked into the kennel, anticipating an aggressive or distressed animal. However, he encountered an intensely focused gaze from a slender, muscular shepherd with distinctive amber eyes. Unlike many rescued dogs, the dog did not bark or pace. He remained perfectly still, evaluating Benjamin with a nearly human intelligence. "What is his history?" Benjamin asked, maintaining eye contact with the extraordinary animal. Martinez referred to his clipboard. "We're not entirely sure," he stated. "The operation involved smuggling both drugs and people. This dog was discovered guarding a container holding children inside. He did not attack the rescue team, did not attempt to flee, but instead protected the kids. The strangest thing I've ever seen," Martinez commented. "He's failed traditional explosive detection programming," Martinez clarified. "Not because he lacks the ability to detect. His scent detection abilities are exceptional, yet he repeatedly signals to things we haven't intentionally introduced. We initially dismissed these as false positives." Benjamin inquired when Martinez paused. "3 times now, he's alerted on items or locations where we discovered nothing. Each instance, we submitted the indicated items for comprehensive analysis. On each occasion, further investigation revealed something previously undetected. Chemical precursors, residues, compounds our routine tests failed to identify. It was as if he perceived the world on a different sensory plane than our other dogs." Benjamin returned to the current reality as Patel's voice cut through his memories. The initial scan revealed standard items, clothing, toiletries, and what appeared to be documentation. No explosive compounds were found, nor any unusual wiring or devices. Cassidy directed a significant look toward Benjamin. "There you have it. With due respect, sir," Patel added, "there's a peculiarity concerning the interior lining. Observe this density variation." The bag appeared to have a subtly altered compartment. It was barely noticeable, but clearly not a result of standard manufacturing. Benjamin felt a sudden feeling of unease as he noticed Lexus looking at him, seemingly confirming his suspicions. "Lieutenant," he said softly, "I believe we must treat this with utmost seriousness. Lexus has identified something that our usual protocols aren't addressing." Cassidy finally gave the order, "Call the bomb squad. Implement full evacuation protocol, establishing a 100-foot perimeter." "Linus, I expect your dog to be correct about this." The bomb squad technicians advanced with methodical precision, their bulky protective suits making them appear almost robotic as they neared the abandoned bag. Benjamin and Lexus had been moved back to the perimeter line, where they maintained visual contact with the operation. "Remote assessment first," announced Garcia, the bomb tech lead, as his team deployed a small rover equipped with additional sensing equipment. Cassidy stood beside Benjamin, his posture betraying the palpable tension. "O'Hare deals with more than 2,500 lost items annually," he said. 99% are simply forgotten laptops and water bottles." He shook his head. "We're closing down half a terminal because of a dog's unusual actions." The rover approached the bag, and Garcia directed its unique sensors from a distance. Following several anxious minutes, his voice came over the radio. "No explosive compounds found, no radiation, no known biological agents detected." Shifting to a physical examination, Garcia proceeded, personally inspecting the bag with a specialized camera. Another individual arrived at the edge of the area, a woman wearing a fitted charcoal suit, her Homeland Security identification clearly visible. Agent Diana Walsh introduced herself briefly, asking about the circumstances. "Likely a false alarm," Cassidy replied, before Benjamin could respond. "Typical abandoned bag. No explosives have been found. We anticipate resuming operations soon." Walsh's keen gaze shifted from the surroundings to Lexus, who was now looking straight at her, his stance still tense and focused. "That your dog, officer?" "Linus. Benjamin Linus. And yes, this is Lexus," she stated, rather than asked, which surprised Benjamin. "I read the file. His alert behavior is unusual?" "Very," Benjamin confirmed. "I've never seen him react this way before." Walsh examined Lexus with heightened interest. "What exactly is different about his behavior?" "He is maintaining distance while remaining focused. Normally, he approaches detection targets directly. And these vocalizations?" As if on cue, Lexus let out another series of short, sharp barks. "They're not part of his training." Over the radio, Garcia's voice interrupted their conversation. "Physical inspection reveals no traditional threat devices. However, there's definitely a concealed compartment in the lining. Very sophisticated work, not visible to the naked eye. Walsh's face grew serious. "Don't open that compartment," she instructed firmly into her own radio. "Excuse me?" Cassidy questioned. "This is airport jurisdiction." "Not anymore," Walsh replied, showing her credentials more clearly. "That bag corresponds to a profile we're monitoring." "Officer Linus, how is your dog reacting? Is he retreating while still attentive?" Benjamin responded, seemingly taken aback. "That's precisely what's happening." Instead of explaining, Walsh quickly spoke into her radio. "Agent Walsh is requesting immediate hazmat support at O'Hare Terminal 5, East Wing. A potential CBR material is suspected. Priority code Alpha. Our sensors detect known threats." Walsh replied grimly to Cassidy's protest. "We've been tracking a new synthetic compound that evades standard detection. There have been 3 incidents in the past month: Dallas, Miami, and Phoenix. The only consistent detection has been unusual behavior from certain K-9 units. Specifically, alert without approach." Benjamin experienced a chilling realization. He was sensing something hazardous, though unfamiliar from his training. Therefore, he maintained a safe distance while staying vigilant. "Indeed," Walsh affirmed. "And should it prove to be what we suspect, your dog may have potentially saved hundreds of lives." The operations manager's face reddened significantly when Walsh requested a complete evacuation of the terminal. "Do you comprehend the implications of this request? This situation involves potentially disrupting travel for thousands of people and causing millions in lost revenue." "I understand perfectly," Walsh stated, her voice steady but with an unmistakable firmness. "And I'm not requesting it." Following a moment of heightened tension, Cassidy's radio crackled with a transmission from the airport director himself. After a short discussion, he addressed the group, his face serious. "The director has approved the full evacuation protocol for Terminal 5. We are initiating it now." With the evacuation announcement echoing through the terminal, Benjamin experienced a brief sense of relief, which was swiftly overtaken by a fresh worry. "If this is what you suspect, Agent Walsh," he thought, already observing the escalating disarray of the evacuation, "then whoever placed this bag here is probably still in the airport. And now we're setting everyone in motion, making them more difficult to track." Benjamin stated, his mind racing through the possibilities. "We need to find them before they realize we've discovered the bag. Lexus can help. If he detected whatever's in that bag, he might be able to track the person who handled it." Agent Harlow from the CBR response unit arrived and quickly coordinated with the hazmat team. Benjamin knelt beside Lexus, speaking in a low, steady tone. "We need to find who left this boy. Can you do that? Can you find them?" Lexus's intelligent eyes focused on Benjamin's face, a gentle whine escaping his throat, demonstrating understanding yet conveying worry. "I know it's dangerous," Benjamin said quietly. "We'll be cautious. But we need to find them." The hazmat team arrived, fully equipped in protective gear, their presence forming a strange, isolated zone of intense action within the now unsettlingly vacant terminal. Benjamin and Lexus stayed at the designated perimeter, observing as the specialists cautiously neared the bag. "Remote extraction first," the hazmat lead stated, deploying a specialized robot intended to manage potentially hazardous materials. While maintaining a negative pressure environment during the transfer, Harlow approached, holding a tablet displaying security footage. "We've got partial facial recognition from cameras near where the bag was placed. The individual is a male, approximately 30 to 35 years old. He is Caucasian and traveling alone. He entered through the north entrance at 6:14 a.m. He was carrying a bag. That was nearly 2 hours ago," Benjamin noted with concern, suggesting he could be long gone. Harlow countered, swiping to another image, stating he was last seen entering a restroom near Gate E9 20 minutes ago and has not emerged yet. Meanwhile, the hazmat team successfully accessed the concealed compartment within a specialized containment unit. The hazmat lead's voice crackled over the radio. Professional detachment briefly faltered. This isn't just a chemical agent," he stated. "There's sophisticated delivery equipment in here. A timer, atomizer, distribution system, and documentation. A lot of it." The hazmat lead continued, his voice returning to its professional calm. The dispersal mechanism was set for noon, 4 hours from now, when the terminal would be at peak capacity. Travel documents, multiple identities, and maps. Terminal layouts for O'Hare, Atlanta Hartsfield, LAX. This indicated a broader operation. A hazmat technician meticulously removed what seemed to be a small notebook, securing it in a transparent evidence bag, and subjecting it to a decontamination procedure before it was given to Harlow. "It's a manifesto," Harlow stated grimly as he examined the pages. Concerning rhetoric, including expressions of extreme opposition to immigration and allusions to restricting international travel, has emerged. This indicated a planned terrorist attack with the intent to target foreign nationals at several airports. The hazmat team has identified the chemical compound involved. It is a synthesized neurological agent, non-lethal upon contact, but intended to induce panic, disorientation, and respiratory distress within a densely populated airport environment, potentially leading to widespread panic and chaotic trampling. Benjamin completed his thought. Standard sensors wouldn't identify it, as it's designed to stay inactive until scattered. Harlow gave Benjamin a hotel key, which was located in an outer pocket of the bag and is now secured in an evidence bag. It should be safe for your dog to analyze the scent from the bag without physical contact. "Lexus. Scent," Benjamin instructed, holding the sealed bag close to the shepherd's nose without opening it. Lexus inhaled deeply, then looked at Benjamin, attentive and prepared. "Locate him." Benjamin gave the signal, and they proceeded into the terminal's interior, where their suspect might still be concealed. Lexus advanced with focused determination through the evacuated terminal, his nose working constantly as he followed the scent from the hotel key card. Benjamin kept a steady tension on the lead, allowing his partner sufficient freedom to work while remaining connected to his movements. Agent Walsh and 2 airport security officers trailed behind, maintaining a distance to avoid disrupting the scent tracking. The deserted terminal, usually filled with activity, provided a disturbing scene for their pursuit. Coffee cups remained warm on the tables. Breakfast sandwiches were left unfinished. Newspapers drifted in the air conditioning, which continued to operate despite the evacuation. As they headed toward Concourse E, Benjamin spoke softly into his radio, while Lexus guided them past closed duty-free shops and empty waiting areas. Lexus abruptly stopped at a junction of corridors, his sense of smell working intensely as he appeared to evaluate different scent paths. Following a brief pause, he turned purposefully toward a service corridor labeled Authorized Personnel Only. "He is entering the restricted area," Benjamin confirmed into his radio. "Request backup at Service Corridor E42. The door to the service area was slightly ajar, a further cause for concern, as these doors were mandated to remain secured at all times. Lexus's pace increased, his body language indicating a closer approach to their target. The narrow corridor opened into a more spacious back-of-house area where airport operations handled luggage, supplies, and equipment. Lexus paused once more, moving around a section close to a staff break room before returning towards a door labeled Electrical Access. His actions changed slightly, his ears perked, his posture suggesting he's found their target. Through the little, wire-reinforced window, Benjamin could see activity inside, someone quickly collecting things from a backpack. Subject identified, Benjamin spoke into his radio. "Male matches description, seems to be getting ready for something. Request immediate tactical response." Lexus emitted a warning bark. The suspect had observed their presence through the window. Immediately, the man inside began moving, displaying frantic energy, retrieving something from his pack. "No time," Benjamin responded urgently. "Subject is actively handling unknown materials. We're moving in now." With practiced coordination, Benjamin and the security team positioned themselves at the door while Walsh covered their flank. With Benjamin's approval, an officer opened the door, and they entered quickly. "Airport police, Homeland Security, hands where we can see them," Walsh ordered, raising her weapon. The suspect, a thin man with close-cropped hair and pale eyes, paused briefly, his hands near what looked like another modified bag resembling the one they had discovered. He then moved swiftly, lunging for a small canister on the workbench. "Another device," Benjamin cautioned, issuing a command at the same time. Lexus, stop. The Dutch Shepherd surged ahead with intense focus, expertly trained to neutralize dangers without causing serious harm. He intercepted the suspect's arm just as he attempted to reach the canister, using a controlled pressure with his jaw that made the man cry out and fall backward. Don't move, Walsh instructed as Benjamin secured Lexus, and the security officers moved in to restrain the suspect. A brief examination of the room exposed the troubling extent of the operation, including another partially assembled dispersal device, additional documentation, and what seemed to be communication equipment. The suspect remained handcuffed to a chair in the airport security office, his gaunt face set in a look of scornful silence as Agent Harlow and a recently arrived FBI agent prepared for questioning. His name is Ethan Mercer, Walsh told Benjamin, reading from a preliminary report on her tablet. A former chemical engineering student, who left school 3 years ago, had been flagged for extremist online activity on several watch lists. However, no action was deemed necessary until now. Through the speaker, they could hear Harlow starting the interrogation, using a methodical and controlled approach. Mercer remained silent, offering only occasional smirks and shrugs in response. The interrogation stretched on for several minutes without significant advancement until the FBI agent presented photographs of the disassembled device on the table. A subtle expression crossed Mercer's face, not fear, but something resembling pride. You were fortunate, Mercer finally said, his voice unexpectedly gentle and clear. If not for that dog. Benjamin noticed Lexus stiffen next to him at the mention, as if the shepherd recognized he was the subject of discussion. How many more? Harlow asked, leaning forward. Mercer's smile broadened a little. Sufficient. Today marked the commencement. The purification process has begun, and the impending events are unstoppable. A disturbance in the hallway captured their focus when the hazmat team leader arrived with pressing information. We have finished the analysis of the communication devices located with the suspect, he stated. They are burner phones, each containing only 3 numbers in the call history. Each of those 3 numbers traces back to prepaid phones bought in separate cities. Walsh suspected Dallas, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. His assessment proved accurate, the hazmat lead verified. Further details emerged. The devices incorporated synchronized timers, intended for simultaneous activation across all locations. Your phones betrayed you, Ethan, Harlow stated, her voice steady through the interrogation room speaker. We are currently monitoring your associates. He glanced at his watch with a studied nonchalance. They are likely already in custody. Now, the crucial question remains. Who will break their silence first? The possibility of avoiding a lifetime in solitary confinement hinged on cooperation. For the first time, uncertainty appeared on Mercer's face. His meticulously built resistance started to falter. Your dog ruined everything, Mercer abruptly said, glaring at the one-way glass as if he could see Benjamin through it. Those devices were undetectable. We tested them for months. How did that animal know? As the sun set over the O'Hare runways, Terminal 5 was declared clear of all threats. Limited operations had resumed in other areas of the airport. Thousands of passengers remained displaced, their travel plans disrupted by the day's events. Benjamin stood by a wall of windows overlooking the tarmac, watching planes slowly returning to their gates as Lexus rested at his feet, finally relaxed after the intense day. Officer Linus, Agent Walsh approached, appearing weary but satisfied, and thought you'd want an update before you left. Mercer provided his contacts after approximately 3 more hours of interrogation, she reported. Tactical teams apprehended 2 accomplices in Atlanta and 1 in Los Angeles, all possessing similar devices in early preparation stages. Dallas proved to be a false lead, a deliberate misdirection, potentially in response to compromised communications. We stopped it, Benjamin confirmed, his voice conveying obvious relief. Completely? Walsh affirmed, looking down at Lexus with a gesture of respect. The timing was absolutely critical. Had that first device deployed successfully, it would have provided data enabling improvements to the others. Each subsequent attack would have been more effective. Do you have any understanding yet of how he managed to detect the compound when none of our equipment could? Walsh smiled faintly. Our lab has a theory. The compound's chemical profile shifts slightly upon exposure to the surrounding atmosphere. This characteristic contributed to the difficulty in its detection. Standard instruments are often adjusted to recognize defined, consistent profiles. Lexus, however, operates differently. Canines don't use calibration. They interpret scent data through unique methods, identifying patterns and alterations beyond the capacity of current technology. Dr. Eris knelt down to Lexus's level, receiving a questioning head movement from the shepherd. This particular dog appears exceptionally skilled. It's likely his early experiences contributed to his advanced detection abilities. Lieutenant Cassidy arrived, his initial doubts giving way to clear respect. The director has scheduled a meeting for both of you tomorrow morning. A commendation is planned. The FBI is now assuming control of the investigation, Walsh stated. However, Homeland Security remains keen on evaluating your K9's detection capabilities. With your permission, we'd like to develop a training program utilizing Lexus's responses to assist other dogs in recognizing these types of threats. As Walsh and Cassidy departed, Benjamin knelt beside Lexus, carefully taking the dog's face in his hands. The intelligent amber eyes that had first connected with him years ago at the training facility looked back with the same unwavering trust. You did well today, partner. Really well. He stroked his hands along Lexus's sides. A final check was performed to ensure there were no signs of distress or exposure. Finding none, the lead was reattached to the tactical collar. Let's go home. As they walked through the terminal, which was gradually reopening, Benjamin thought about how many near misses in his career had depended on split-second decisions and instinctive reactions. But today had been different. Today focused on the deep trust developed between Handler and K9 through years of collaboration, a connection that went beyond training manuals and standard procedures. What Lexus accomplished couldn't be duplicated by technology or documented in reports. It represented the peak of natural aptitude, specialized training, and something more intangible, a nearly instinctive ability that some remarkable working dogs appeared to have. Benjamin had consistently trusted his partner's skills, but today had solidified that trust into something absolute. No matter what difficulties they encountered moving forward, they would confront them as a team, their partnership strengthened by the experiences of today. The following morning would involve reviews, paperwork, and probably numerous inquiries regarding Lexus's distinctive detection abilities. For tonight, Benjamin felt satisfied, knowing that many travelers would return home safely to their families, completely unaware of how narrowly they had avoided disaster, and how a Dutch shepherd with amber eyes had stood between them in the midst of chaos. Have you ever experienced a moment when an animal perceived something that humans completely missed? Animals often possess remarkable abilities that science is still trying to understand. This story highlights how vital these instincts can be in critical situations. We are interested in hearing about your experiences with animals that appear to possess more understanding than the humans nearby. Considering you were in Officer Linus's position, would you have believed your canine partner's atypical behavior, despite technology and protocols indicating no danger? It requires significant courage to support a partner's instincts when others advise caution. Can you recall a time when you made a tough choice relying on your gut feeling instead of data? Working dogs, such as Lexus, contribute to saving many lives daily across the globe due to their remarkable skills and commitment. Do you have personal encounters with service animals or working dogs that impressed you with their intelligence and abilities? Please share your stories in the comments below. Inspired by Lexus's incredible story today? Don't miss our next video. Subscribe and enable notifications. We release another unforgettable story of heroism and dedication from the world's most extraordinary canine officers every day at the same time. Give a like if you think these four-legged heroes deserve more recognition for their life-saving work. We think you'll enjoy this video if you love dogs or are interested in canine units. Please see our previous stories, which are appearing on the screen now. And remember, behind every great police dog is a partnership built on unwavering trust and communication. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time with another amazing canine story.